Around 2 years ago at this point, I saw a YouTube thumbnail that had this big buff bodybuilder type guy with this big ass beard and a wife beater in what looked like his mom's basement talking about business advice. So at first I was kind of hesitant to click it, but I clicked on it and I was hooked from minute one. Pretty much throughout the last 2 years, this guy has been the person who I listen to the most. I probably listen to his voice more than even my family or my girlfriend. And by this point, you probably know who that is. It is none other than Alex Hormozi. Last summer in July, I even had the fortune to have a quick one-on-one conversation with him, which was very, very useful. And I can confidently say that Alex has been one of the biggest reasons why I've been able to over 3x my business in the last 365 days. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 of my favorite lessons that I learned from Alex. It was kind of hard to choose just 5, but I tried to pick 5. They are in no particular order, but they are still some of my favorite sayings that Alex talks about. So I hope this is going to be interesting to you, and let's get right into it. Lesson number 1 is do something so much that it would be unreasonable for you not to get good at it, and outwork your self-doubt. These are kind of 2 different sayings that he has, but I think they kind of go hand in hand together. You know, as entrepreneurs and as creative people, we all struggle with self-doubt, right? It's something that probably everybody has. But self-doubt is something that you can pretty much only get rid of through action, through giving yourself evidence that you are actually good. And the way you get that evidence is through work. It's through doing the boring stuff. And this is another saying that Alex has, which I love, which is do the boring work. So this has been probably like one of my favorite things that I learned from him, is that it's totally reasonable for you to suck if you just start something from scratch, right? Why would you be good? If you just started selling, for example, and doing sales calls, it would be actually unreasonable for you to be good without prior experience and practice. But what you want to do is you want to do it for so long, so consistently, that it becomes unreasonable for you not to get good at it. So that is lesson number 1. Let's move on to the second one. Focus on one thing. I know that this sounds simple as well, but this is something that I really just relearned from Alex, is that I should just put all my focus and energy on one thing, one business, and just really make my product and service just amazing, right? So it jumps off the shelf. As entrepreneurs, again, it's so easy to get distracted. There are so many opportunities popping up every day. You hear about AI, you hear about this new business model, you hear about this new social media platform, and it's really difficult to keep your eyes on the target. But it is something that is necessary to learn if you want to get, really good at something. That is another great reminder, is to just focus on one thing until you become amazing at it, and then the results will follow. Number 3, the harder your product is to build, the easier it will be to sell, because word of mouth is the only exponential compounding acquisition vehicle. If you're not making money with your business and you're actually trying, the reason for that is because your product or service is probably just not as good. So you should just keep focusing on that. Focus on creating something that's actually valuable and better than the competitions. And again, just coming back to this point of the harder your product is to build, the easier it is to sell. I think it's actually very, very true. I'm not gonna say that I've been able to completely experience this yet, because I'm still in the very beginning of my journey. But since I really heard this from him a lot of times, I started spending more and more time with my customers. I started spending more and more time on making my services actually better, instead of just trying to market more and more and more and more. He talks about this with his book, how he spent a ton of time writing his book and doing revisions on it over and over again, and that he didn't do much marketing at all to launch it. He just basically put up an Instagram post, and ever since then his book has been selling more and more copies every single month, because his book is so good, right? That if someone reads it, they're going to recommend it to some of their friends and give it to business partners or whatever it is, because they get more status from recommending that book to someone who hasn't read it yet, because it's really good. So if you can create a service or a product that's so good that people are going to gain status in their communities by recommending it to other people, then your product or service is going to be able to spread like wildfire in the market. Basically, my whole takeaway from this is just focus as much or even more on your product and service than you do as on marketing, because if you really had that good of a product or service, you wouldn't even have to worry about where your next customer is going to come from. And by the way, I know I said product or service a lot of times. Number 4, pay down ignorance debt by paying for skills and buying education. This is something that I've been doing myself for a while, but I thought it would be still valuable for me to include because it was just, again, a great reminder constantly from him. Since I've been listening to Hormozi's stuff, I went to, masterminds that I paid like 7-8 grand for. I bought courses, I bought one-on-one coaching from like people like email marketing experts, because these are all skills that I know if I can learn, then my value and my earning capacity is going to go up in the market exponentially more than the amount I have to pay to acquire these skill sets. So Alex Hormozi calls this concept ignorance debt. Like, for example, if you don't know how to make $1 million a year, it's costing you $1 million every year not to know how to do that, right? If you want to pay down that ignorance debt, pay for masterminds, pay for like coaching or courses for other people who have already done what you want. And this way you can really just buy speed of implementation and get to where you want to go much faster, because it will be clearly laid out to you step by step what you need to do. So that is lesson number 4. Pay for speed and pay for information to pay down your ignorance debt. Because another thing is, you don't know what you don't know, right? If you can get in the right circles, if you get in the right groups where there are a lot of other people who are already where you want to be, then they are going to be able to point out to you what you actually don't know or what you might be missing. Because if you don't talk to these guys or you don't really get to chat with them, then it's going to be really hard for you to even figure out what you should be learning, because what you might think you need to learn might not actually be what is required to get to that destination where you want to go. Lesson number 5, solve bigger problems, get bigger paychecks. And another caveat to this is, Alex talks about this, is solve rich people's problems, they pay better. The concept with this is building a $100K a year business is pretty much the same effort as building $1 million a year business or a $10 million a year business, right? They are both hard. So might as well solve a bigger problem that is going to come with a bigger paycheck and reward at the end if you're going to have to go through this struggle anyways. And last but not least, as a bonus, I wanted to just add this in. Alex is someone who I think really doesn't give a fuck about what other people think about him. That's why he is able to dress the way he dresses, or talk the way he wants, or live his life the way he wants to live it, right? It's really so true that we only have this one life. We only have like a very limited amount of time on earth to live. So you might as well spend your time the way you want to spend it, right? Your parents, your grandparents, whatever it is, your friends might be telling you that what you want to do is not a good idea or a waste of time. But at the end of the day, it's your life. And if you really like go against what you want to do because of other people's opinion, you're just going to resent those people and hate them in the long term. So you're really your only option if you want to come out of any sort of situation like this on top. Do what you want to do still. Go through the struggle. Once you will be successful, people are going to support you. But unfortunately, a lot of times you won't get that support from your friends or your family or anything like that. With Alex, he has this story with his dad and how he kind of went against his dad's like will. Yeah, I think that's also a very profound thing, is to just live your life the way you wanna, do the things you wanna, and fuck what other people think about how you should be spending your time, or who you should date, or whatever it is. So I hope this video was insightful for you and maybe a good summary of some of the lessons that you learned as well, or just a good reminder from Alex. And Alex, I want to personally thank you as well for everything that you're doing for the world. Pretty much, you're hands down one of the best teachers out there on the internet or in the world right now. I learned so much from you, and my friends, who I know some of them went from pretty much like zero to a 10 million a year business in the last few years, they also learned so much from you. So Alex, just know like what you're doing is amazing, and I want to thank you for everything you do. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you in the next one.